Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. Now, this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or real estate. It does it with the host of the program, with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, many home sellers fear the inspection. Many people think that most buyers want to purchase their home as is. So, what are some of the red flags that home sellers need to prepare for when they're selling their home?
Well, I think the fear is very real. I mean, there are times when I think, wow, this house is perfect. There's probably nothing wrong with it. And they'll come up with something that's extraordinary. And the problem in the state of Colorado is the person that's judging your home is an unlicensed inspector. They're not qualified to do much. I mean, they got an online certification, if that makes you feel any better. And they don't really know the system sometimes. They make a lot of mistakes and they're very pushy and aggressive in my view. I was just discussing an inspection with the seller yesterday, and he built this new beautiful custom home that has a very unique special um, heat system that actually requires proprietary software to program it and all kinds of stuff like that. And so he had me put in the counter proposal that the inspector's not touching that. You could turn the thermostat up or down and that's it. And another thing that they do, this is pretty common when there's a well property, and I see them do it on regular inspections anyway. The inspectors will go in the house, they'll turn every single faucet in the house on, inside and out, and run it the entire 2 to 4 hours they're doing an inspection. Now, who lives like that? Richard, I mean, how would you feel about that?
I don't know a single person who lives like that. And I think, I don't know your job, but it seems to me that you should be realistic, present the best image that's accurate to people, whether they're buying or selling.
Yeah, so he's like, you're not doing that on my well because you could run the well tank dry and cavitate the pump and suck up sand. That has happened to me before too. So that's why I had to create my new inspection policy, which is a written document about good and bad behavior on inspectors and what I won't allow them to do on my listings. I even had to create a video about it because I can't get agents to read very much. So, and I share it with them once they go under contract with my listing. These are the boundaries that you get to play in because the inspectors don't think there are any boundaries. I've had agents say, well, can't you just give out the combination to my inspector? I trust him. He's been around for years. Let him inspect the home for 3 hours and, just send me the report. And I'm like, no, you're going to have to be there. And his response to me was, well, that's just a waste of my time. And I'm like, no, wait, I know I've said this before, but let me get this straight. You're going to make $20,000. You were there at the open house for 1 hour. You wrote a 1 hour contract, probably took you less time than that. And you're going to do a walkthrough and closing 3 hours. So you're going to make $20,000 working 3 hours because you don't want to be bothered attending the 3 hour inspection. And then he denied saying it. And I'm like, dude, you put it in an email. Here it is. you know. Anyway, it's craziness. Agents would probably be really happy if they write a contract, never show up again, and just send me the check, right? That's what I go through all the time. Yet they wreak havoc when it comes to inspections. And the buyer just wants the house to be functional. The contract says the home is sold as is, where is, with all its faults. But that doesn't mean they're not going to do an inspection. And for sure, they're all going to ask for stuff. Now, some of them will try to make you feel better, especially if they're competing with another buyer. And they'll put in their contract, we're only going to ask for anything that involves health, safety, plumbing, electrical, sewer. Which is pretty much all of it. It's just really funny. But there's a lot of things that come under scrutiny on an inspection. And right now the inventory is up. So buyers are being a lot pickier than they were before. And because there is no license to be an inspector, anybody could come and inspect your home. I have had landscapers inspect my listing. I've had the daddy of the buyer inspect my listing. Those didn't go well. And I've even had one house that was older and needed some, it was a nice home, but it was a much older home. It wasn't perfectly level. It had a lot of years of wear and tear on it. That home went through 4 buyers and 4 different inspections until we got it sold. And what was interesting is every single inspection report and objection was different with each and every buyer. So a seller doesn't have to fix anything, okay? But the high ticket things that you should definitely look at before you go on the market are roofs. So a roof is something that, because we have a lot of hail storms around here, I would say 1 out of 3 of my listings has to get some kind of work done on the roof. Most often it means roof replacement if the roof shingles have hail damage. And you got to watch your deductible. So that'd be the first thing I'd check is how much is my deductible if I have to replace my roof? I've seen it as high as, $10,000. What about the furnace? If they're not really good at maintaining the furnace, it could be that the furnace has issues. You don't know. The old electrical panels, but probably the other big ticket item that we run into all the time are dealing with sewer lines and septics. So a sewer has to do with being in like city sewer or any kind of municipal sewer system. Septic has to do usually with properties on acreage where it's got a system that drains out the septic lines. There are requirements by the county. Most counties around Colorado will require that the septic system be inspected, and it has to pass their inspection because what they're trying to do is protect the groundwater from being contaminated, which I understand that. But the problem is the pace of the county's reaction to these inspections has gotten really slow more recently. In fact, I've got one closing next week where I first met with the sellers in March. We are closing the middle of July, and just last week they finished replacing the leach field. And the delays were not the contractor putting in the new leach field that had to be replaced. It was from getting the engineering report and especially getting the permit. All those things take months and months. So you really want to check out these systems in advance. And what I hear about sewer lines from the sellers all the time, I'll ask them, have you ever checked your sewer line? And the answer is no. It hasn't backed up. We haven't had any problem with it. So therefore, they don't worry about it. Well, it could be fractured. And here's the problem. These inspectors come in and they've got their little cameras where that they run down the sewer clean out, hopefully. But if there is no sewer clean out, I've had these inspectors without permission, even when we told them not to do it, pull a toilet and run the sewer line that way. And then they don't properly reseat it or they don't properly seal it. I've had all kinds of problems. So I have to lean forward on these inspections for sure, because it's kind of the Wild West out there. Plumbing, here's one of my favorite ones recently. We had a big cat fight over the inspector's gadget. So one of their gadgets is a infrared scanner. Now that sounds really cool, right? It looks really cool on camera too. It's got these different blue and red colors. And they claim that if they run the infrared scanner over the top of drywall and they see different colors, it means that there's moisture back there. Well, that may not be true, right? And so all of a sudden they get the buyer believing there's all kinds of plumbing leaks going on behind the wall. And it's just false. So I get frustrated at what some of these inspectors use to justify their worth. I get that it's a good idea to have a home inspection prior to purchasing a home, but there has to be some kind of grain of common sense that goes into it. Like I just sold a house where the sewer line had been replaced the year before, but the dummy inspector ran the scope down the old line and said it had failed. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that goes on in my world. So, and then of course the agent and the buyer believe everything the inspector says, like it must be gospel. And like, oh, well, there's an experienced inspector. I'm like, I'm sorry, no offense to inspectors out there, but the state does not license them. There is no qualification to do it. We don't know what we're getting. They are not professionals in their field. So you really have to bring in professionals to deal with it. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. We're talking about how to avoid contract failures with regard to inspections. And next up, we're going to talk about the best solution to know that you're going to pass your inspection. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900. We have thousands of buyers on our website. Typically, we can find 700 buyers that are a high match for your home. Plus, we have cash buyers. We show up with cash offers. That way you can make a really good decision about what is the best strategy for you when you sell your house. So call 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program. And if you are interested in selling your home and want to call Barb, the number is 719-301-3900. And we're talking, Barb, about how to avoid those red flags on home inspections for sellers. Barb, what are some of the other home inspection issues that often come up?
Well, a lot of times we'll see the decks get hit with different things. You know, wood is a tough product in this climate. It will kind of rot and corrode over time. And a lot of people don't check it. Sometimes it's visible, sometimes it's not, especially the joist underneath. So it's a good thing to check out ahead of going on the market just to see if you have any repair bids that you have to get taken care of. The reason why I suggest you do this in advance is that if you wait until you're under the gun, you're under contract, you have limited time to get contractors in there to give bids. You can't negotiate as much, and it may be difficult to find a contractor to do the work. So it's really important to just check these things. Fractured concrete typically can be solved. I wouldn't worry too much about it unless there's a trip hazard. As far as wells, so some of these dummy inspectors don't know what they're doing. I had them suck the well dry, run the faucets for hours and hours, and then tell the buyer the well was no good, which was ridiculous. Or if they're getting a VA loan or a government loan, the VA in particular asks for a bacteria test or a metals test, and those take time. So you can't wait to the last minute. It's on the buyer to do their own inspections. The other issues I have is that a lot of times the buyers will invite their friends and family, or they bring in contractors to give them bids during the inspection. It becomes a ridiculous gaggle of people. I had one of my sellers actually caught the buyer during the inspection having a pizza party at their house. Now, they had never sold a house before, right? And all of a sudden I get this panicky text from the seller going, what in the heck is going on? Are they squatting in my house? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they sent me a screenshot of the Ring doorbell, which has the pizza lady showing up with not one pizza. We're talking 4 pizzas and a bag of wings. So I understand why they asked that question. And I called the agent and I said, what are you doing? She goes, oh, we're having our inspection. I'm like, why is her pizza getting delivered? Oh, well, they were hungry. I'm like, who was hungry? Oh, the buyers. I'm like, really? They can't go somewhere and eat and come back? Give me a break. So that's the kind of stuff I have to deal with all the time. So our solution is we offer a certified pre-owned home program where we get a pre-inspection. We deal up front with the red flags. It really takes the stress down when you're selling a home, and you know in advance if you really have any problems or not. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program. And if you are thinking of making a move, call Barb, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about why most agents don't know how to negotiate, plus Barb's hot new listings. Stay tuned for that.